Hello everyone, once again my name is McKeely and this is my dad.
Hello.
He is in-house to share how he makes his slammin' homemade meatloaf. So I'm going to let him take over and show you how it's done.
Alright. This day we're going to make meatloaf. It's a very economical meal to make. Feeds a family of up to 6 easily and probably a little left over. So here we have 2 pounds of ground meat. We've taken this out of the freezer, so if you have any ground meat around, you can use that. We've got some seasoning salt, some garlic powder, cream of mushroom condensed soup, about a half a cup of green pepper, about the same amount of onion diced, 1 egg, about a cup of oatmeal. Very simple. We're going to add the meat to the bowl directly. We have about 2 pounds of ground beef here. This is about 85% lean, 15% fat. And I'm going to take the egg, crack it, and beat it slightly. The magic hands behind me are going to clean up a little bit. So I'm going to just add my green pepper, my onion, and as I said, about a cup of oatmeal. And I put about 3/4 of a cup in already. And I'm just going to see what that looks like as I begin to mix this around. Just to get things started here, I'm using a fork. And it takes a while to cut the oatmeal and the green pepper and the onion into the ground beef. But it goes pretty quickly, and you don't have to be too careful about this process. Just trying to get it mixed up pretty good. Next, I'm going to finish with the oatmeal. I see some spaces here where I can use it, and I'll just dump the rest. So at this point, we have a cup of oatmeal into about 2 pounds, maybe a little more, of ground beef. And then lastly, just going to add my egg. Helps hold it together a little bit. Now with this last ingredient, I'll just cut the egg into the ground beef. The egg helps with the consistency, making it a little bit smoother. Some people might want to add 2 eggs. That would be okay too. I find 1 is sufficient. I'm going to add just a little garlic powder here. And some seasoned salt to taste. I'm going to take off this cap so I can get a better measure of what I'm doing. And since I've added this garlic and seasoning salt, which depending on your diet you don't have to add, I'm just going to fold this in again. And as you can see, with the tines of the fork, I'm mashing this out now and smoothing it as I go. so we get a nice even consistency throughout the mixture. This process now just takes a little elbow action to smooth out the lumps of meat so that it's pretty consistent with onion, bell pepper, oatmeal throughout. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is meant to be a simple recipe. Take the spatula here and start to mold this into a oblong shape. And you can see on the sides I've moved the meat away from the sides of the bowl except at the ends. And in the middle, I'm going to just make room for my cream of mushroom soup. As you make that deep indentation, you can see why you needed to move the meat away from the sides of the bowl. And when I add the cream of mushroom soup, we're ready for the oven. So I'm going to use the whole can, and it's condensed, but the juices from the ground beef will conspire with the cream of mushroom soup, the condensed version, and make a nice gravy for the table, and also keep the meat very moist.
I'm going to go on and set your oven to bake at 350.
And I'm just smoothing this out on the top. It's going to run over, but that's fine once it heats up in the oven. But as I said, it will make a nice gravy. And so, put the lid on here, and it's ready for the oven. And you're looking at about 45 minutes at 350, but I always check it at about 30 minutes. And my assistant is going to place it on the top rack of the oven. And as I said, give it about 30 minutes. And now you have the Brooks Hughes recipe for meatloaf.
Yeah.
Serving about 6 people, and with a couple of sandwiches left over very easily.
Yes, and if you don't know about a meatloaf sandwich, we'll have to cover that next time. And so I'd like to say thank you to him for being a sport. And
Love you.
he says his assistant, but I'm really his twin. So
My twin assistant.
anyhow, y'all, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back to check on the meatloaf.
Thank you.
I believe the meatloaf is done because I can smell it and it smells so good. Dad is back at work doing his progress notes, so we're not going to interrupt him. And pull this out of the oven. Alright, so that on top is the cream and mushroom soup that he mixed in there. And normally I take a little bit of that browning seasoning and just put a few drops in there and kind of stir it around. It just gives it a richer color for the gravy. But other than that, it is so ready to go. And thanks for joining.